Last year, right before E3 came along, I was convinced that either Nintendo or Capcom were going to be announcing a Western version of Monster Hunter Double Cross for the Nintendo Switch. It made sense with the Switch's success for them to release a Monster Hunter on that particular platform. Also, at the time, Capcom was developing Monster Hunter exclusively in Nintendo platforms, and Monster Hunter has always been a game that was very friendly to portable formats, and therefore, just like everything seemed to make sense. However, what we ended up getting in that particular E3 was something completely different. We got Monster Hunter World instead. And I'm pretty happy about that. Like, you guys know that I've been enjoying the crap out of Monster Hunter World. It's been a fantastic ride. However, I did want it to play Monster Hunter Double Cross simply because I'm a Monster Hunter fan, and that was a game that I never got to play. Well, yesterday, Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate was announced for the Nintendo Switch. It's going to be coming out on the 28th of August, and is what Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is the Western version of Monster Hunter Double Cross. Now, I am of two minds when it comes to this particular game because I'm very concerned that people have a lot of expectations from Monster Hunter World, and they kind of expect, oh, this is the next one, right? No, this is not the next one. This one came long before Monster Hunter World, and I think people really need to be careful with their expectations when it comes to Generations Ultimate, because let me tell you right now, even though the gameplay loop is the same, which is hunt monsters, gather their parts, craft their armor, craft their weapons, do all of these things, the game itself does not have all of these amazing quality of life changes that we've had. Like, for instance, right now, when you're playing Monster Hunter World and you run across, say, a mining outcrop, which is just like, the crystals in the ground that you go there and you mine and you get your iron ore, or you get whatever dragonite or macalite or whatever it is that you need. You just go there, you press circle, you don't even think about it, and you pick up your ore and you move on. That's not the way it's going to be working in Generations Ultimate. This is just one very small example. In order to actually collect that, you're going to have to go ahead and craft pickaxes. Once you craft your pickaxes, you're going to have several grades of pickaxes. And basically, this is usually increases the amount of time that it takes before these pickaxes break. Those pickaxes also eat up a space in your inventory slot, so that's something that you need to keep in mind. And everything that you pick up in any given quest is going to go straight into your inventory slot as well. This includes monster parts, which, for those of you that haven't been paying attention, in Monster Hunter World, when you actually loot monster parts, they don't go into your inventory slot. So that's another thing that goes in there. It's just like this, there are thousands of other little things that are going to significantly impact your adventure when you are playing this other Monster Hunter. So keep it in mind. Now, I'm not saying this as in you should not play this, just play Monster Hunter World. Completely the opposite. I just want to make sure that you temper your expectations and know that this is a different game than Monster Hunter World. It is not the next thing in Monster Hunter. It is not Monster Hunter World for the Nintendo Switch. These games are very different. Now, naturally, I'm going to play the crap out of that game as well. I've already finished the main story of Monster Hunter Generations. However, I didn't go too far beyond that because, like I said, for those of you that don't know, the start of Generations was a bit of a problem for me because it was just the quests that were in the beginning of Generations were extremely boring, and a lot of the times you would be better off going in as a Palico, which, by the way, is something that you're going to be able to do in Generations Ultimate. You can actually play as a Palico. You can equip yourself. You can, you got all these ridiculous skills that you can get for your Palico, and you can essentially make your perfect Palico and then play as that Palico instead of playing as a hunter. And you can go on hunts with the Palico, which is something that I've done a lot of in Generations. And as you guys know, I don't like cats, so playing a lot of time as a Palico also negatively impacted my opinion of that game. However, having said that, I should also mention that Generations Ultimate has a lot of things that we actually don't have in Monster Hunter World. And that is, Generation Ultimate was essentially a bit of an anniversary spin-off, so it's got It's almost like a collection of best of Monster Hunter. And then they introduced a lot of new interesting mechanics that I actually enjoyed quite a bit. Namely, the mechanics of styles, which I never got around to playing Double Cross, but Generations had a similar mechanic. It just didn't have as many styles. And what styles is think of it like this. So you got your longsword, which is a pretty popular weapon. A lot of people play longsword. And instead of just having the base style of the longsword, which is what you have in Monster Hunter World, let's call that the guild style. Instead of just having the guild style, you would have 3 more styles in Generations, which I believe is going to be 5 more styles in Generations Ultimate, if I'm not mistaken. And these styles would actually change the moveset of the weapon as well as add special moves onto the weapon itself. You guys are like, whoa, this sounds kind of weird for Monster Hunter. And I know. So say, for instance, instead of playing guild style, which is what you have in Monster Hunter World, it's like, guild style is like vanilla, like your basic style. You could play striker style. Now, this would be usually a more streamlined moveset, which would be easier for you to spam infinite combos in. And the advantage of that is that you would also be able to add an additional combat art. Hunter art, I believe is what they call it, an additional hunter art to the vanilla style. Now, hunter arts are like special moves. So say, for instance, you're playing like a game where your character charges up and eventually you can perform a special move because you have enough energy or enough power. That's what hunter arts are. So essentially, after you beat a monster for a while with a specific weapon, you will charge up a certain art that allows you to do a special attack. And in Monster Hunter Generations, you had a ton of these attacks spread throughout the different styles that you had in the game. And the Striker style is the style that has the most arts, thus allowing you to perform more special attacks. Now you guys are like, well, why wouldn't I just play Striker? Because then you have other interesting styles. Like you have the Adept style, which was actually built around you dodging and exploiting the invincibility frames of the dodging animation and actually being able to do special dodges and then perform special attacks because of those dodges. You would be able to do some really sick counters with certain weapons. That was the Adept style. I didn't play too much Adept. Usually I would go Guild, Striker, Aerial. And then there's Aerial. Now, Aerial literally allowed you to leap off of monsters, okay? And with any weapon, this includes great swords, switch axes, anything. Any weapon you could leap off monsters. How would you do this? You would basically dodge into the monster, and your character would just kind of like jump on top of the monster and do a little leaping attack. And then you would be able to do aerial attacks nonstop, which made it so you could potentially have a playstyle similar to Insect Glaive, with any weapon you wanted. And suffice it to say, I loved aerial playstyle. I played a lot of weapons with aerial playstyle, and it was one of my favorite styles in Generations. Even though it wasn't the most optimal, the most meta, so to speak, it was still something that I really enjoyed. So like the introduction of styles, essentially what it did was you could squeeze more out of a single weapon. Like once you thought, oh, I know everything about this weapon, you're like, okay, now try playing this style. And that it basically multiplied that weapon by 4. So you would have 4 different styles for one specific weapon. Now in Generations Ultimate, like I said, I believe it's going to be 6 because they're going to be adding the Brave style and the Alchemy style, which I have no idea what those styles are about. And that to me is the part that is interesting. All of these different styles for all of the 14 weapons that are available in Monster Hunter. Like, it just really multiplies by God knows how much all of the different things and all the different builds and mixed sets that you can actually do in game to take advantage of all these different things. So again, the one thing that I wanted to bring up in this video is temper your expectations, because this game was made long before Monster Hunter World. As a matter of fact, it still uses the classical zone style of Monster Hunter, which for those of you who don't know, like you open up a map in Monster Hunter World, you'll notice that the map is divided by zones, but you just go in and out of each zone. It just flows, right? In the previous Monster Hunter games, that's not how it worked. The map was divided by zones, and each zone would have like its own loading screen. So every time you would exit, like say you're in the ancient forest and to go from zone 1 to zone 2, there's a small little loading screen between. Now these loading screens are not big and they're not really a big problem. But it is, like I said, it's a very different feel from Monster Hunter World. So again, I want to temper your expectations, but at the same time, I want to tell you guys, get excited. because it is going to be good to have a Monster Hunter on the Switch, which is something that I've been wanting for God knows how long. Having another Monster Hunter that you can play with your friends, like on the go, because I mean, let's face it, playing on a PlayStation 4 or PC or Xbox 360 on the go is not particularly very viable. But yeah, it's just, now the thing that surprises me is that I don't think they've announced it for the 3DS yet, for the West. At least most of the stuff that I read today is just like, it's all about there's Switch version. And you can import your save file from Generations back onto the Switch, which initially I was thinking, oh, I might not do that. I might just begin the game fresh and it'll be fun. And then I remembered, no, it won't, because those starter quests friggin' sucked. So no, I probably am going to import my save file and go straight into G rank and check that stuff out. It's also going to be the first time that I'm going to be going to G rank in Monster Hunter, because like I told you guys, I've played Monster Hunter a lot in the past, but I never really got all the way up until G rank. So this might actually be, I mean, depending on when they release G rank for Monster Hunter World, who knows, but this might be the first Monster Hunter that I actually go into G rank. So I'm excited about that. I am going to be streaming it. I'm going to be creating some content around it, but I don't expect the content to take off quite as much as Monster Hunter World, because we've already had the Japanese release and the Nintendo Switch is not region locked, so a lot of people already played the Japanese version, but it's just, that was just not something that I was willing to do because I don't know how to speak Japanese, and it was just going to be a lesser experience. So I was like, no, if they release a Western version, then yes, I will most definitely play it and I will support it and I will create content around it, but not a Japanese version. But yeah, so in a way I'm happy. In another way, I just hope this doesn't actually hurt the Monster Hunter image, because again, my main concern, I'm not saying this is like, oh, I think this is a lower quality product. No, I think Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think that a lot of people are going to go into it thinking Monster Hunter World, and then they're going to be very disappointed because it's very different and it feels a lot rougher than Monster Hunter World. However, it is also a chance for all of you who became fans of Monster Hunter World to go check out how it used to be back in the day. Because like I said, that is an anniversary edition. It's got some maps from Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I believe it also has maps from Monster Hunter for Ultimate, if I remember correctly, and even maps from Monster Hunter Tri. So it's got a bunch of maps in there, and it is still a game that I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's just, again, I think I'm rambling at this point, but I am excited about it. I can tell you that I am excited, but I'm concerned, basically. I'm concerned because I don't want this to hurt what Monster Hunter World has brought. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. As per usual, if you enjoyed this video, remember you can always subscribe and consider hitting the bell icon so that you actually receive the notifications. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.